All right, so ChatGPT Terra and Kimi K3 are going head to head right now, and the gap between them is way bigger than the marketing suggests. Artificial analysis independently measured Terra at 34 cents per task versus K3 at 95 cents on the exact same benchmark. Both models dropped recently, and people are already switching production workloads between them, so the stakes are real. I'm comparing ChatGPT Terra versus Kimi K3 across 4 actual tests, and everything I'm telling you comes from verified third-party sources, no vendor spin. Now, I was honestly expecting a pretty clean winner by the end of this, but what I actually found is that the smarter model might be the one quietly burning your budget on simple queries, and whether that matters to you depends on one specific thing. So this comparison is really for you if you're running API workloads, doing deep research on large documents, or just trying to figure out which model won't wreck your unit economics at scale. Pick the wrong one, and you're either overpaying by almost 3 times per task or leaving serious reasoning capability on the table. Test 1 is long context document handling. The failure mode here is pretty brutal. You paste in a 200-page contract or a full code base, the model loses track of the sections you didn't explicitly cite, and you get a confident answer that's just wrong. You don't even know it happened until something breaks downstream. I looked at every published figure I could find, and here's what's interesting. Kimi K3 has a verified 1,048,576 token context window, confirmed across vendor docs, and a Kimi API platform, ChatGPT Terra. No published figure anywhere in the evidence. Bear in mind, this is one-sided data, so I'm calling it partial, not a clean sweep. Now, a big context window sounds great until you read the fine print. Community testers at Layer 3 Labs flagged that K3 can still drift on the least reference sections of a very long input. So you want to ask targeted questions rather than dumping everything into one giant summary prompt. A large window doesn't mean perfect recall. Kimi K3 takes test 1. I was expecting both models to have published context figures and for this to be a close call, but Terra has nothing on record and K3 has a confirmed 1 million tokens with flat pricing and no surcharge. That puts Kimi K3 up 1-0 on the scoreboard. S2 is multilingual response quality. The failure mode nobody talks about. You ship a product to a non-English market, the model sounds fluent, but the output is weirdly verbose or slightly off register. And users start dropping off because something just feels wrong. That's a real cost you only see in retention numbers, not in a benchmark score. What surprised me is how thin the data actually is. I found no standard multilingual benchmark scores for either model, nothing like floors or NLU multilingual for ChatGPT, Terra, or Kimi K3. Originality.ai tested K3 across 10 languages with 500 samples and got 100% AI detection recall. But that's a detection study, not a quality score. Honestly, the verbosity finding is kind of interesting, but it cuts both ways. Kimi K3 outputs a median of 1,099 words versus 268 for comparable models, and 93% of its responses run longer. That might be exactly what you want for research-style outputs, or it's a real problem if you need tight, short-form, multilingual responses. This one's a tie, and honestly, I was expecting at least one model to have a published multilingual benchmark. Neither does. So there's just not enough comparable data to call a winner here, and the scoreboard stays at Kimi K3 1, ChatGPT Terra 0, with one test tied and no clean answer on multilingual quality yet. Test 3 is API pricing, and this is where things get expensive fast. If you're running thousands of tasks a day on the wrong model, you could be paying almost 3 times more per completed task without realizing it, because the per token numbers don't tell the full story until you see the all-in cost. I was expecting K3's cash discounts to close the gap, but the all-in numbers are pretty clear. Artificial analysis measured ChatGPT Terra at 34 cents per task and Kimi K3 at 95 cents on the same benchmark. Same methodology, so that's 2.8 times cheaper for Terra. And K3 locks reasoning to max at launch, meaning even a simple query burns tokens at the $15 per million output rate. Now, K3's cash hit discount is real and worth knowing about. OpenRouter reports a 92% cash hit rate on K3 traffic, which drops the effective input cost to around 52 cents per million tokens. So for repeated context workloads, like coding tasks where you're sending the same files over and over, that gap does shrink a bit. Take that into account. ChatGPT Terra takes test 3 on pricing, and it's not close. I went in thinking the cash discount would make K3 competitive, but at 34 cents versus 95 cents per task on an independent benchmark, Terra is just meaningfully cheaper, and K3's always-on max reasoning is a real hidden cost trap. That ties the scoreboard up at 1 win each, 1 tied. More, test 4 is reasoning speed on complex tasks. The failure mode is latency that compounds. If your model is slow and you're chaining multiple reasoning steps together, you're not waiting 2 seconds, you're waiting 2 minutes. And for any user-facing product or agentic pipeline, that's the kind of lag that kills the experience completely. What surprised me is how slow K3 actually measured out. Artificial analysis clocked Kimi K3 at just 33 tokens per second, ranking it number 145 out of 190 models, which is a 76th percentile for slowness and genuinely not great for a frontier model. Bear in mind, there's no published speed figure for ChatGPT Terra in the evidence, so I can't do a direct side-by-side. The slow speed is kind of a deliberate trade-off though. K3 sits at number 7 out of 190 models on the intelligence index with a score of 57, right up there with Claude Opus 5 Max and GPT 560 Max. So you're trading throughput for top-tier reasoning quality, and depending on your workload, that might be exactly the right call. Reasoning speed is a tie, and honestly, that's the right call given what we have. I was expecting at least a rough Terra speed figure to compare against, but there's nothing published. And what I can say is K3 is genuinely slow at 33 tokes pass, which is a real consideration. Final scoreboard, ChatGPT Terra 1, Kimi K3 1, 2 tests tied. ChatGPT Terra wins clearly on cost. It's 34 cents per task versus 95 cents for K3 on the same artificial analysis benchmark. So Terra is 2.8 times cheaper per completed task. There's no always-on reasoning overhead eating into your budget, and that makes it the obvious pick for high-volume, cost-sensitive API workloads where per-task economics actually matter. Kimi K3 wins on depth and scale. A verified 1 million token context window with flat pricing and no surcharge is genuinely hard to beat for full code-based reviews or multi-PDF research sessions. It's ranked number 7 out of 190 models on intelligence, and Kimi Researcher lets you stack PDFs, transcripts, filings in one session with no equivalent Terra feature in the evidence. Honestly, I went into this expecting a cleaner winner, and what I got was a genuine split that actually makes sense. Once you see the numbers, so here's the decision rule. If you need cost-efficient, high-volume API work, go ChatGPT Terra at 34 cents per task. If you need frontier-level reasoning on massive documents, Kimi K3's 1 million context window and number 7 intelligence ranking are worth the higher price and slower speed.